Elite Dangerous News.
Okay.
Wait, actually, hold on. I want to do this one too because I got a button.
It's the Dark Wheel Update.
Okay. I might just have too many buttons, but go ahead.
I'm going to cover the Dark Wheel update for Wolf since he's out. Three quick things here. First off, BD18 3106, the Dark Wheel is at war for control of the system. We really want to make this system fly the flag, and after it's won, we want to continue to climb to at least 60% influence. And second up in the Yukui system, the Dark Wheel won the war for number 3, and we're trying to continue to climb there as well. And last, there's some other work to do around the Dark Wheel space, but your commanders know to read the standing orders for those to-do lists. So that's the Dark Wheel update. In Frontier News, you're not going to play the button again for that, or I can just cruise right in?
Go for it.
All right. In Frontier News, Galnet, August 30th, the corporation plans ONIONHEAD medical product. So this is the pharmaceutical giant Neomedical Industries. They're aiming to mass produce the gamma strain as a medicine. At the time of this article, there had been no response from Kumo Crew Syndicate, who currently supplies the new variant, but as you'll see in a couple stories, that changes. August 31st, HYFORD'S cache reveals mysterious project. As we mentioned last week and has been covered quite well by a number of content creators, including Galnet News Digest and the Burr Pit, the data cache timer expired last week. It kicked off this quest. In the article, they're suggesting a possible connection to Kit Fowler's recent theories about Black Flight. September 1st, Federation criticized by Alliance and Empire. I'm shocked to find the superpowers disagreeing. Yeah, whatever. September 2nd, Pharma Giant begins ONIONHEAD project. So this was the kickoff for the CG. Now the Kumo Crew is kind of upset, so there's a CG that we'll talk about in a sec. And then finally on September 3rd, Torval Orbital established. So this is the continuing story from the CG a little while ago with Samina Torval being in conflict to have a new headquarters in LTT 198. So there is a new starport there. So the community goal that got launched, there's a hauling component and combat component. You're basically protecting deliveries for Neomedical Industries or getting bounties for fighting off the Kumo Crew. That's your choices there. Rewards, basically some stickers, ONIONHEAD decals, and a Cobra Mark III ONIONHEAD paint job. So if you're really into ONIONHEAD, I guess that's for you. So that's the news. I'm going to go through 3 things here that I think might be fodder for some discussion. We'll see if anyone's got some thoughts. Or we might just keep cruising through it. The first one, we've got this issue list they've been continuing to tick the boxes off of. I think this is maybe in the category of, I really hope this turns into something substantive. They've been sort of ticking some things off the list that actually were already done before they made the list, so it's feeling a little hollow. I really hope that becomes substantive and it really turns into a good tool for them. I think it's got a ways to go.
Preach, brother.
The second one, and this is one I might talk about for a minute. This idea that they're going to be putting, well, there's two parts of this. They're going to put concourses in megaships, and then they're going to put these megaships all around the Milky Way, in I guess 1 per sector or something, which sounds suspiciously like a giant well executed player-driven activity that resulted in the DSSA carriers being put all over the galaxy and providing that service.
I'd like to take a moment. Let's actually go around. I would like to hear everybody's thoughts on that, because I think you and I, Roy, had the exact same thought when they announced, like, okay, we hear that people out there are pissed off because they were out in the black when Odyssey dropped and they now don't have their exobiology suit. So we're going to fix that by putting concourses not in fleet carriers, as everyone's asked, but in megaships. and we're going to place megaships in the different quadrants. What is that called? The
sectors.
Sectors. Different sectors of the galaxy. And that way, players can get their exobiology suit. So what occurs to me is, number one, why didn't you just give every person who bought Odyssey a level 1 exobio suit? You don't have to upgrade it. You don't have to give them the Maverick suit or the combat suit. Just the exobio suit. Give them a level 1 suit so that they didn't have to go anywhere. Number two, if you are going to say we're going to fix this by adding concourses places, maybe you should have done it 4 months ago when you released Odyssey. That was back on May 19th. It's now September. They could have already, but at this point, you kind of already screwed them. They had to go wherever. They would have gone there 3 months ago. Number three, if you were going to introduce it to anything, for the love of God, just put it on a fleet carrier. You didn't have to make it part of, like, it's owned or controlled by players. It could have just been a thing where the Brewer Corporation, who sells the fleet carriers, they retain the right to have a concourse, and they own it, and they staff it, and you don't get any profits from it, and you don't pay any money for it. You have nothing to do with it. It's just there. And that would have, at the very least, sort of shown respect, because it seems to me, and I could be wrong, but the single biggest, most beautiful, your player base did a cool thing is the DSSA. Those players, those people, men and women who stood up and said, I'm going to volunteer my time and money to put a fleet carrier out there for the good of all. That's so beautiful. And it seems like this solution that they've decided to go with, is it just me, or does this shit all over the DSSA? Does this not make that entirely useless? And I'm not trying to be shitty about it, I swear. But, like, I would love to hear from the panel and from the people in the chat. What do you guys think about this? Does this, am I missing something? Is there something where, like, I'm just being a dick and I'm being, like, Mr. Negative, and I should change my, because I'm open, I'm willing to change my viewpoint if someone can make a good persuasive argument.
Ada, you got a thought on that?
So I typically try and not comment on Elite Dangerous anymore, just because it's nowadays it's just a game. It's just one of the, it's just a game I don't play. It's just someone else's game now. I don't feel any vitriol towards it, but I can't help but feel that the term malicious compliance comes to mind. Like, this problem has been highlighted to Frontier, and they can't just say, okay, we'll give players what they've asked for. We'll put a concourse on fleet carriers. They can't do that. It's got to be some undermining step. That, as you say, Kai, it does completely undermine the efforts that the DSSA, which is a huge project that achieved, it's an amazing achievement that they were able to coordinate and set up this array of deep space carriers. And this kind of half-measure solution to the problem really feels like it undermines that. Yeah. And I have to admit, it really gives me a poor view of Frontier. More so than I guess I already had.
Lady Rain?
So, I'm gonna bring the spice and the salt, sorry. I'm gonna be that bitch. As a community manager, I want to know why their community team isn't being an advocacy group for their player base. Because the first ever expedition that I did back in March, right before April and the update and stuff, I landed on 2 DSSA carriers, and they were a sight for sore eyes out in the black. And to realize that this was a player organization, a player group that had done the deep space support array, You know, and the first one was over an Earth-like world that was ringed, and it was just this amazing thing to have this way station in the black. This is tone deaf. The leadership has no idea what they're doing. And to me, this is a giant slap in the face to the player base. And I really want to know who thought it would be a good idea. And is the answer just why can't they say this to us, right? Like we had all this glorious information we get from Star Citizen every week. Why can't Frontier just come out and say, we're not putting concourses in fleet carriers because we can't. It is technically impossible. We screwed up. We're sorry. That's why we're doing it on megaships. The fleet carriers move. That's why we can't put concourses on them. There's a technical limitation. Who knows if that's the case or not? But I want some honesty from Frontier once, please. Why did you do this? It's a giant slap in the face to the DSSA, and I'm sorry for being that salty bitch. I haven't played Elite since April, but this stuff still gets to me. It still gets to me.
Just a thread on a couple things there. I mean, I think the megaships are going to move, aren't they? Someone mentioned that in the chat, and I couldn't remember if I'd read that.
I mean, at Frontier's whim?
Yeah, that's a minor point. I guess the other one I was going to say is maybe there's some expediency here. Like maybe they thought it would be better to have a way to get suits to explorers in the black faster than to solve the longer term problem of a concourse and a fleet carrier. I don't know.
So I would point out that when Horizons dropped, every person, whether you were out on the black or whether you were whatever, if you bought Elite Dangerous Horizons, your ship now magically had the approach, you can land on a planet module put into it. That's no different than saying every account now magically has just a level 1 plant gun suit. Doesn't have to be upgraded, doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to have 50 different laser guns. Just the one suit which gives you access to the plant gun. That's all they need.
Yeah. Commander Miggles 314159 chat says putting concourses on megaships would mean they can place a base wherever an event calls for something like this, for example, above a Thargoid ground combat zone. I think that's true.
That's true.
There's no reason you can't do both, and it doesn't mean. I mean, they could have done that, but not spread megaships all over the galaxy. I mean, I think another thing for me is as an explorer, it makes exploration feel incrementally less dangerous again. I like the DSSA. I think in the very beginning when I first heard about the idea, it was a little bit like, now it's not really going to be dangerous. You're only a half a sector away from safety no matter where you go now. I've come to appreciate it, and I've worked it into my game loop as an explorer. I think it's great. Having a megaship there as well doesn't really add anything for me. And now just makes it feel more crowded, I guess. It's a bit, that's just sort of a feeling. It's not anything specific. Jade, you had a point you want to bring up?
Yes, I just want to say that I totally agree with what Lady RAYNE said, as well as Kai. It's heartbreaking. Out of the 3 games that I've played, this is the one that I have the least amount of hours in compared to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen. And I've often wondered why that was. And I've seen, I've followed the interaction between Frontier and the community. And I do think that does play a role. I've always felt sort of like an outsider looking into that whole dynamic. But more recently, I've started paying a lot more attention to what's been going on, and it really just hurts because I love everything about the idea of this game, the full Milky Way galaxy. It has so much potential, and there's so many easy ones for Frontier if they would just listen to their community and take the easy ones. But you also have to be open to criticism. We in the Star Citizen community, I've seen both sides of that. I mean, CIG has been open to criticism, but then when the game gets criticized, we've also seen gaming publications run with that. And I think Frontier, with a fully released game, this is not an alpha, this is not a beta, this is a fully released game with several major updates, can do a lot better. That's all.
I'd like to take an opportunity to respond to something in the chat. Miggles. I see Miggles say, I disagree with Kai. I'm not much of an explorer, but if I had to choose one suit, I wouldn't choose the exploration suit. I'd be more interested in the other two. I would point out that's exactly the point, Miggles. You're not an explorer. The whole point is that for us in the bubble who bought Odyssey, you have within 5 jumps in every location 100 different stores you can go to buy any suit that makes you happy. The whole point of this conversation is that for those people like Commander Picard, who's been out in the black for 5 years and might be at this exact moment, for all I know, 40,000 light years away from the nearest store, for him, if he bought Odyssey, it seems only fair. He spent his $40. He should have the opportunity to have a plant suit, a plant gun, so that he could go and sort of, scan a plant. He paid the $40 for the game. Yes, he's not in the bubble, but he should get a chance to look at pretty plants too. That's the only suit that explorers need. You don't need a combat suit as an explorer, nothing shooting at you on the ground. You don't need a engineering suit as an explorer, you got no panels to cut. But you are 40,000, 60,000, 80,000 light years away from anything else, surrounded by planets with pretty plants, which is exactly what Frontier said. You will have money to go, or you can give us your money and you can go enjoy these pretty plants. So that's the idea. Yes, Miggles, I'm sure you probably don't really care about the explorer suit because, as you said, you're not an explorer. But those people in the bubble have plenty of opportunity to easily grab whatever suit they want. Sorry, just wanted to hop in on that. Roy,
no worries.
Take it over.
Yeah, so maybe one last thing. I think this, and it kind of feeds back to the very first point about the issue list as well. I think it might have been, I can't remember, sorry if it was Lady RAYNE or JADE that mentioned about tone deaf.
Me.
It's kind of a basic fact of neuroscience and psychology that if you're in a situation, if you're in a relationship, and I'm speaking about the relationship FDev has with their player base at the moment, that's negative and sensitized, you need 3 positive things for every negative before it even feels even. And if they keep doing things that are, maybe they can say on balance there's some good with the bad, but they're not going to get into the positive part of that equation unless they really start doing some things, I think, that maybe aim more towards the side of let's make the game fun instead of slavishly adhere to some concept of well, they can't have the suit because they got to fly their ship back to the bubble. I mean, I just think there needs to be some thought put into that. I'd love to see this game pull itself out of the hole it's in. I mean, look, they've got more data about who's playing and what they're doing than any of us do, and for all I know, maybe some of those DSSA carriers are starting to go broke because there's nobody using them anymore. Who knows? Maybe that was something going on in the background. We'll never know. But if they want to dig out of this hole, they got to start tripling the positives for the perceived negatives. So anyway, the third thing here, HYFORD'S cache. So I mentioned it a bit earlier. There's some great stuff out there on Galnet News Digest, and the Burr Pit did a great talk about the Orthrus variant. I didn't even know about that had happened a few years ago, which sounds like a type of Thargoid ship that a few years ago was maybe mistakenly in the game for a while, and it turned out it had human components, but and then sort of went away. So if you don't need spoilers, close your ears for 60 seconds. So the HYFORD'S cache thing, the story leads to a hello, it's Colo audio log and describes a hybrid human Thargoid craft developed by Azimuth Biochem, and many are speculating this is the Orthrus variant, and that's what the excellent Burp Pit video goes over. As yet, there's no concrete changes from it, so maybe there's more audio logs. I guess more to come on that. Anyone commenting on this path, this story? Any thoughts on this from anyone?
Mm-hmm. More audio logs.
Matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has to end up in something fantastic. If it ends up in something fantastic in the game, to my previous comment, maybe it starts to move the needle. Hopefully, it's not just a warmed over quest chain that got put on hold because Odyssey sucked all the air out of the room in development a couple years ago. So here's hoping they can pull that out.